From NFL quarterback to Hollywood to the mayor's office, and now behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. Free at last! Free at last!
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
Hey, welcome to the Alan Autry Show. This is Larry Powell. I'm standing in for, well, I'm actually sitting in for Alan today. He's got a couple of things he's working on. Pray for his wife going through a couple of physical things, and we just trust the Lord that things will go well there. But I'll tell you what, Alan's show is always an interesting place to be because he just comes up with some of the most crazy, outlandish kinds of things, and yet, you know what? Somehow it always works. I just like what he does and where he's at. But, today I was thinking, and joining me, by the way, is our good friend coming in hot, Guillermo Moreno, one of my good buddies who actually owns the station.
Blessing and a curse.
Yes, I hear you. Well, it's nice to have you here today, Guillermo. But I've been thinking about a lot of different things as we go through the end of the holiday season. We're getting ready for this new year, and how fast January has gone. It's just, it's rapid, I can't believe it.
We're only right around the corner from Christmas and New Year, 2024.
Give us a 60 days, they'll start advertising.
Yeah, no kidding. Christmas trees will be for sale.
Yeah, but, one of the things that I've been thinking about, I know you guys talked yesterday on the show about mass shootings and other kinds of things, and, we're living in a crazy, crazy time, and all of the energy and effort put into gun control when it's the person holding the gun in the heart of the person that's holding the gun that has a lot to do with it. And we got to find a way to get away from some of the silly arguments and get to an argument that is one that's going to make our society better. And that is, we've got to have mental health services for folks. We've got to be able to identify them earlier, those kinds of things. And family members, I'm telling you right now, family members have to step up when they see a family member going crazy, tell somebody, get some help, do something to get some help there. I know, tough subject, but it's one that,
Yeah, and you can't legislate away evil.
No.
And this is just, I hate to say it this way, mass shootings are not, they're not in large number. Any amount is too high.
Absolutely.
But if you were to take, statistically, I'm not a math guy, that's why I didn't go to medical school. But statistically, you look at the amount of guns that we have in the United States. You look at the amount of accidents, tragedies, kids getting a hold of guns. When you look at that, mass shootings, and remember, mass shootings is a term for more than, I think it's 4, becomes a mass shooting.
Yep.
So when you factor all that in, I'm not saying that it's small, but it's a really low number statistically. Yeah. And there are a lot of responsible gun owners out there. There are a lot of responsible individuals that don't own guns as well, and there are a lot of individuals who have less lethal options.
Yep.
So it's always this is going to continue to happen. This is one of those things that's never going to go away. As long as there's guns, and as long as there's evil, more importantly, then it's going to happen. What would be the next thing? You take away all the guns, right?
Yep.
You take away all the guns, you still have knives. You still have bombs.
You still got baseball bats. You got all kinds of stuff. It's still going to happen.
It really is. But
Yeah.
I think it's a political football.
It is.
Gun control is a political football, and these tragedies are just they're just political moments where the left can go further left field and the right can go further right field.
Yeah.
There's just no
we get
no
further
compromise.
from the middle.
Yeah, get further from the middle
all the time. Yeah. Well, we're not going to solve it today.
You sure? We can do it.
No, I'd like to. But, I want to talk about a couple of other things. We're going to get into some things. I want to talk a little bit about post-COVID and the decade of COVID. Some
But we're not in post-COVID. Remember, it's still going.
No, I know it's still going. But, boy, that big 2-year, blast that affected education, I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But I also want to talk about something that's kind of maybe superfluous in a little way. Cars. I'm a car guy. I love cars, and I have a Tesla Model 3. You've got a Tesla. Your mom's
She's
driving
going to take it over. I hate it so bad. I pawned it off to my mother and said, "Hey, you want it? You take over the payments. I don't want it."
I tell you, these guys that buy Teslas in retreat. I'm not sure, but anyway, but I'm also selling mine. I love it.
There you go.
Had it for 4 years, and I'm not selling it for any reason other than we got a cabin up at Shaver Lake, and I'm not taking it up there and getting sap on it. And I don't want to get all the junk on it and everything else. But so I'm looking at a Honda CR-V, which I never thought I would ever look at, but they put in a new snow gear deal on it this year. It looks spectacular. But what I wanted to talk about was not necessarily the car, but how hard it is to get a car right now. You can buy a used car so much easier than a new car. And I can remember the day I've owned 35 cars in my lifetime.
You keep track. That's impressive.
I have a picture of every one of them.
That's cool. That is pretty cool. What was your first one?
My first one was a Chevy, 55 Chevy that was hardtop. It was that red and cream color.
Okay.
It was spectacular. It cost me $300.
Oh man!
And at the time, $300. I think gas was about 40 cents a gallon, maybe less than that. In fact, when I'm thinking about it, back in 1965 when I got it. But yeah, it was. And you do all the right things. You turn it into almost a Bolero red with a black interior, and you do all the tuck and roll and all that stuff, and you put glass packs on the back, and it goes, as you're going down the street. And now my Tesla doesn't make a sound.
No, it doesn't. It does. It makes kind of an alien sound. Yeah.
Right. Little whine sometimes, and that's it. But how hard it is to get cars. And I used to be able to walk on a lot, and the average was 60 to 120 days of cars available right now for you to walk on and choose a car, walk off the lot. You got it,
Yeah.
Now you're lucky if you can get a car in 3 months.
Wow.
And I ordered mine in October. And
wow.
Well, let me tell you something they call it. They call a car being born the day the factory starts it with your name on it. So mine started on Monday. So we're 2 days into
your car
the
build.
week, and my car build will be done, interestingly enough, by either Thursday afternoon or Friday morning. So it takes them about 4 days to
make
a
car.
To make a car, yes.
Huh.
So, but what they do, obviously, in advance, they get all the parts, they get everything ready to go. They got the team, and boom, you got the line coming through, and they're making multiples. But I'm one of them in that deal. So in 4 days, it should be completely born. And then the next thing I know, I'll get a call from the dealer, who happens to the dealer manager happens to be a former student of mine. Harold Harikian, great guy. And so he'll give me a call and say, Mr. Powell, your car is on the way. And so in about 10 to 14 days, it'll be here. They'll unwrap it.
It's when officially at the womb and give birth?
It'll give birth.
Yeah.
But I tell you.
Does it have its own gender? Or is it
one
a
of
sign?
them? It's a them.
It's a them. All right.
It's a them. But tell me, how many cars have you owned?
Gosh, my first one was a Chevy Cavalier.
We almost all have owned a Chevy to start with, I think.
A Chevy Cavalier, and then a Toyota MR2 in college.
Oh,
I got a deal, $3,000.
Yeah.
It was a 91, and the MR2s had a real special place in my heart because my mother had been in an automobile accident, really bad when she was younger.
Is that right?
And the MR2s, the engine is in the back.
Yes.
So that saved her life.
No.
And so when this one came up, it was It was cherry red. I was in college.
Oh, well, you and I love red.
I didn't know. Now it was a stick shift. I didn't know how to drive stick shift, but the car was for sale. It was $3,000, and I told my friend Brandon, he was a car guy, and I said, we were in the dormitory. This is in Michigan. And I said, Brandon, man, there's this car. I don't know how to drive it. If I buy it, can you drive it?
Show me.
Could you drive it? And he goes, yeah, Guillermo, of course, man. So I went, I bought it, and in the parking lot, it was just, and I learned how to drive it.
It's a different deal. Yeah,
it is.
And for me, we didn't have automatics a whole lot back in the mid '60s, and when I first started driving, and so having had polio. My brace bends at the knee, and so I would use my right hand holding my brace on the accelerator and push, bring it up with my hand and put it on the brake to stop, because you've got to use your left leg for pushing in to get it into neutral and whatever you're going to do in shifting and everything else. But that's how I learned to drive, and I was very good at it.
Yeah.
So, but it's a different world.
Wow.
Anyway, folks. Okay. If you're going to order a car, order it now. You'll get it in July. So, But, hey, listen, I want to talk a little bit about, obviously, we're still in COVID, and it's the impact of it physically for individuals tends to be decreasing, but it's still numerous people are getting it. It's still out there. Fortunately, a lot of people have gotten vaccinations. From my side of the table, I look at vaccinations have worked. Having had polio and then seeing what polio vaccination was all about, boy, that stopped it cold, almost eliminated it in the world, except for 4 countries that decided their leaders wanted money to be able to get the vaccine to their people. And so that's why we still have polio in 4 countries. But anyway, when it comes to COVID, we're not in post-COVID, but we're in the COVID decade. And that's kind of, that term was kind of coined by some folks in the British science area, and they started calling it post-COVID time. And the intensity from 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and the little start and the blast big time. And they started talking about, we need to be prepared for some kind of eventuality like this again.
Yep.
We were not ready for this. And one of the key findings, and I want to get your thoughts on this, one of the key findings from this group that was making the report to the British government is this: don't have a fully centralized response. It has to be much more community-oriented and community-wide because of the variance, the variability of how it impacts.
Yeah.
When we shut down all schools in America, one of the other interesting things they found in their study in Britain was that you will never gain that 2 years back. You'll never gain it. And the loss of people with, college degrees went down. So your workforce just got emaciated. It was absolutely crazy what happened. And we were not ready for that. We're still not ready for that. Unemployment is still a big issue with it. There are so many things, but tell me a little bit, what do you think about that centralized versus decentralized response to COVID? Obviously, there's some things on both ends, but give me your take.
I'm not sure I trust local government to handle this. I mean, when you have potholes the size that they are in Fresno, you have streetlights that are out. There's not much that I can say that I'm really proud of my local government for doing so. I'm not sure I want that. But I also don't want to see the feds handle it either, because I think they really botched it. And this was under the Trump administration, too. Trump inherited a stockpile that was extremely already. I mean, they talked about the shelves being bare. So when COVID hit, I mean, we just didn't have anything. We didn't have gowns. We didn't have gloves. We didn't have masks. We were in a really bad spot.
And drugs dependent on other countries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've been saying this for a long. I said this during COVID. I said this in the first year of COVID. I said, man, listen, I hope we have some geeky scientists like a mile underground, that haven't slept, haven't ate, and they're trying to figure this out. They're coming up with, different types of vaccinations. And I really hope that we got this figured out. And then I keep saying, now that it's in the rearview mirror, I really hope that we take the lessons and we learn from them. A good example, and I've been advocating for this. No one listening to me, but that's fine. I've been advocating for this for a long time. our hospital emergency departments are always occupied at about 90%. I
Yep.
mean, that's non-COVID times.
Yeah.
And we are so full to the limit. COVID, something bad, a really bad flu strain will send all these hospitals into a really bad situation.
Yeah.
So we have a lot here in Fresno. We're lucky. In Fresno County, we're lucky because you have the old UMC over there. Now we have community,
Yep.
our Madera community that just gone offline. It seems to me that it would be a really good investment and really worth our money. And maybe other cities across the nation could do this. You find these facilities that act as temporary, or you build them up as these centers. When something really bad hits, boom, they go online. We spend as a country, as a local municipality, we spend a lot of money on stuff that really doesn't matter. But we should prepare a building where the intake could be 300-400 people,
Yep.
instead of saying, oh, we're just going to put them in the local convention center. We'll set up
Which is always the solution.
which is always a
they jump to.
solution. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we got to be ready. If I were a local elected official, I would order a whole bunch of gowns, a whole bunch of gloves, a whole bunch of masks. It just
Stockpile them.
It just makes logical sense. And then in the worst case scenario, something happened. Guess what? You're looking mighty pretty, because all the other cities, and not that I hate, it's biblical. Biblical, right?
Absolutely.
You would have.
How about some grain stored for 7 years?
There you go. Yeah, or water.
Water.
Let's just store the water at this point in time. But
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. When you, and this is my other contention with, during this entire COVID time, the healthcare community allowed the government bureaucracy to take it over. The government bureaucracy really hijacked the healthcare community, and they allowed people that they might be doctors, but they were government doctors, take over a process that the local doctors and nurses, they were on the ground there. They knew how to do it. And you see this virtually, I think, in every industry now. I think government is getting too big. They're trying to take over every industry because they have this mentality of, oh, we can do it better. They've never.
I'm not sure of anything they've done better.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really great. Let's keep that thought. We're getting ready. We need to take a break, but keep praying for Alan's wife. She's going through a couple of things. But it's. I would rather be sick than a family member. Give it to me, whatever
Preach
it is. I'll go through it. And things. But it's so hard when it's a kid. I had a 7-year-old grandson just get 2 root canals.
Oh,
and they were fortunately in temporary teeth, not as permanent. But hey, folks, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Alan Autry Show with Guillermo Moreno, and I'm Larry Powell. We'll be right back.
I was up in Oakhurst yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And Ron Cleaver
Oh, yeah.
told me, is that the station Larry Powell's on? I said, you bet. He goes, you know what? He keeps telling me, everyone keeps telling me I got to listen. I'm going to listen now. And
All
you
right.
tell Larry Powell hi for me.
Yeah. How'd you
And,
run into him?
I was speaking at the Oakhurst District 5 Republican Central offshoot.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ron.
So
I've known Ron for a long time.
he goes, man, Larry Powell, he's got so much integrity. And so, yeah, he couldn't.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, okay, what's your name? Ron Cleaver. I said,
Ron Cleaver.
I will make sure.
Yeah.
I won't forget that name.
No.
Next, I said, I'm going to see him tomorrow. We're going to be together. And then I don't know if I should say, he goes, is Alan Autry, is he physically fit? And I said, yeah. He goes, I heard that he wasn't fit anymore. And I said, no. I said, he hits the
He works
gym
out
every day.
every day.
I said, he's more fit than Stallone.
Oh, yeah,
and he
absolutely.
goes, well, that's not saying much.
Ron's pretty funny. Ron, if Ron's listening, we'll have to talk about that.
Let me get some water real quick.
Oh, yeah. Got it. Oh, we're good. Yeah.
1 minute.
Hey, we appreciate everybody watching on Facebook. Our phone lines aren't doing too well. We have 2 systems. One system's down. We're gonna try to hook up our other system within the next day or so, so you'll be able to call in. We're really sorry. I think they put up a post on Facebook, letting everybody know. Yeah.
Yeah, Facebook fans love those emails we get from you, and sometimes connections on Facebook. Your comments are welcomed and appreciated.
Absolutely.
20 seconds. Five seconds.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
Hey, welcome back to the Alan Autry Show. I'm Larry Powell, sitting in for Alan today. We got Guillermo Moreno with us as well. We've been talking about the COVID decade. I don't like the sound of that. I don't want it for a decade, but I think we may have it for a decade. But before we get back to some comments on that, I did want to share a couple of things here locally. We've had 2 giants of the community pass away just recently. Jim Hendricks, who was an amazing guy. I worked with him. He helped pass the largest school bond in the history of California here in Fresno, $215 million school bond. He was the co-chair of that, and just a remarkable guy. They've put in he and his partners have put in $500,000 into scholarships for kids and done some great things. Jim Hendricks, going to be missed. His funeral's coming up here shortly. And then another really good friend of mine, Bill Tatham, who owned Copper River Country Club, but is a very well-known businessman, high integrity. In fact, if you go online and look at the Fresno Bee, you'll find a huge article on him today in today's paper. But great guy. I'm going to be speaking at his funeral coming up next Monday. But, when someone passes, it reminds you of your fragility, and we're like the Bible says, we're like dust, here for a moment and gone.
Yeah, no kidding.
And it's like, where did you go? And then another good friend of mine just passed. His name is Ben Dunn. Fantastic guy. Went in for either a knee or a hip replacement just for quality of life, but was told about a 50-50 chance with this one because of his age. But he just decided he was going to trust the Lord and go for it. Just didn't want the quality of life that you have without good hips, good knees, those kinds of things. But great guy. Be praying for him and his family. So a lot of good things. Hey, listen, back to our concept here with, one person, Fauci, government, big government, federal government, local government. How do you balance who tells us what's what? How do you believe what's what? And how do you get ready for what's what when it comes to these things with, something like COVID that is completely out of the blue? And I like to go back to what we were told in March of 2020.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, we'll have this out of our hair and under control. And 2 years later, now 3 years later, we're back to almost 4. 3.5 years into this stuff. This is crazy. So to your point, we better get ready, because this kind of thing can happen so easily. And if for all of you who would like to do some research on the end time according to the Bible, and you'll see some discussions in there and some talk about how quickly things can happen and the entire world be in distress. I just suggest you take a look at it. As a pastor, I like talking about that with folks. But anyway, back to it. We need to do some things to get ready. We need to be prepared, because I'll tell you what, it's coming again. It's going to hit all of us. And the thing, I do have to say something. My mom's 98 years old. She's absolutely amazing. She's and she has made it through because of her care, and my sister Shelley, who takes care of her, and they live together, uh, haven't gotten COVID.
Wow.
98 years old, and she still can drive. She has her license. She has better eyesight than I do. An amazing lady, but they have been so meticulous in wearing masks and not going places they would like to go but don't go, ordering food in instead of going to a restaurant, visiting relatives. They go at times. The fewest of them are there to see at a time. I mean,
Wow.
they make really good decisions on that. Wouldn't it be nice if we got a chance to be told by someone, and other than Fauci, because I don't think Fauci gave us choices, he gave us mandates. And I would like to have someone who's really knowledgeable say, here are some choices that you can make. This is a little more risky. This is a little less risky. This has no risk at all. And then let me and my family decide, and maybe even, discussions in groups at our local government level of what is best for our community, where you get input from the citizenry who have to live with those decisions, instead of just saying, we want all schools shut down.
Yeah.
How about, are there other things we can be doing? Are there some places it's okay? Maybe in the mountains in Oakhurst, it was okay to keep schools open.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have the incidence of COVID as high as big cities do and things. So what do you think about this? How do we prepare so that people have choices for what's coming?
I'm not sure. This is, the entire COVID response was driven by the federal government in the states. So, how do we prepare next time? I think we take COVID and we learn from our mistakes. I think the American people are not going to be maybe as forgiving and just willing to give in and say, okay,
You're right on there.
I think there was a level of trust pre-COVID where the American people said, okay, yeah, the government, they have our interests at heart. They're much bigger. They have departments that handle these things, and there was a level of trust that we gave our government.
Yep.
Especially in matters of health. I think pre-COVID, you could ask your local, you trust your politician? They're going to be like, heck no. But we trusted them. We trusted the Department of Public Health. We trusted these agencies where they can't screw it up. They're not elected officials. They know what they're doing.
Right.
Some of them are doctors. So, how do we prepare for this next time? I don't believe that we're going to even allow this to happen next time, which could be a blessing, and it could also be a curse.
Yes.
Because let's say COVID-3 hit. They're going to say, hey, listen, it's going to be like the boy that cried wolf, man. This thing is bad. This is going to take out half the population. And remember, that's what Gavin Newsom was saying in the very beginning. Like, hey, 50% of the people are going to die. And, you're faced with that, and you're like, oh, my gosh, that's horrible. I had the local city council member, Miguel Arias, in my studio, I think the first couple of days after they shut down Fresno. And he came in and said, man, we're starting to prepare the Fresno Fairgrounds as the holding place for the bodies, because that's where they're going to be. I mean, so they really thought it was that bad.
Yeah.
And one thing about the American public, and I don't want to get political on this, but I think we gave the benefit of the doubt to our state officials, to our local officials. There was a small moment in time where Democrats, Republicans, we were all in it together to say, okay, yeah, we got to beat this 2 weeks. Sure, why not?
Fear does that.
Yeah, it does. And then
it unites you.
it really does. And then something happened there where the politicians they flipped the script. I don't know if they saw it as an opportunity, disguised as, I think they were fearful. I don't believe that even Democrats wanted to have mass deaths on their hands. So they said, you know what, the safest route is to shut everything down. And this is a great opportunity to kind of get things done. Because when you look at stuff, you got to be realistic that the left did take an opportunity and they ran with it in the sense that, hey, everyone's shut down. We get to do this. We get to do this. We get to do this. So, I mean, I pontificated quite a bit to your original question is, hey, what do we do next time? I don't think there's going to be a next time, which may be good and which may be bad, because what if the next time is more deadly than this COVID? What if 50% do die? Now the government has cried wolf so many times. Yeah. You tell an average person, hey, you're going to get your latest booster. They're going to look at you be like, what? Like, yeah, get out of here.
Yeah.
I think we've become so desensitized now that's really a problem. So where do we go from here?
Well, and the mask issue was one of them, because you had people on both sides of that issue saying masks work and masks don't work.
Yeah.
And the answer is actually someplace in between. The quality of the mask made a big difference. So we had people wearing these paper things, or almost like a go in and rob a store mask.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't know what to do. We didn't understand the 95 mask. So how do you have a health mask that is really working? There weren't even enough around. So those kind of things. So that's crazy. But I think the sad part about the whole COVID issue was a health issue became a political issue that had little or no resistance, because we understood the health danger.
Mm-hmm.
So we gave in a lot of our rights.
Yeah.
And abdicated them. And Guillermo, I think you're right. It won't happen next time. People won't give in as easily and trust. And Fauci has to take a lot of blame for that, because of his pronouncements. On one day he's saying this, 2 weeks later he's exactly the opposite. And people don't like that. You have to. I've learned something as an administrator in education, that what I say carries more weight than I intend. And so it's really critical that what I say is measured, guarded, carefully researched, actually does do what I say is going to happen. If I don't, credibility is lost so fast. And when you're on national television every day, and having that smirky smile of his didn't help. I didn't, just looking at the man, I didn't have confidence in him, And then after the pronouncements came, and they were so bad and off so much, the confidence level was just gone, absolutely shot. So when he did say something that was true, a lot of folks didn't believe it, and many of them didn't care after a while.
Yeah.
So I think what you have to do, instead of one person, I think you have to have a body of people that have credibility, that are doctors or whatever issue you're dealing with, that have knowledge in the area, and that they talk and they put out a statement that they have a press secretary read, as opposed to the expert. Then have the expert come in and maybe ask questions of them, but put out something that this group says rather than one think.
Yeah. And I think this goes all the way back to our founding. And I think a lot of people should answer this question within themselves. Who has final say over your health? That's the question. Are you okay with the government making that decision, or do you want to make that decision irrespective of how bad it sounds? Because there are a lot of people that refuse medical care, and they're going to die.
Yes.
So at what point in time?
And can they choose that?
Exactly. And that's freedom of choice. That is the decision. If you want to die, are you allowed to just get the infection and say, you know what? I understand the risk. I'm assuming the risk. I'm just going to die. This is America. It is my choice. Or is the government responsible for keeping you alive? I think at the end of the day,
they think they are.
That's the question. They
want more tax money. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm not that cynical, but
No, but and that, I think that is the question. I think that's a fundamental question to look at as a country, is who has that choice over life. Yeah. And it goes back to life. Is the government that arbiter?
Well, then you bring up issues like abortion.
Yeah.
And I mean everything about, so
because we want to be in charge,
control the beginning of life and the end of life and everything in between.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have my dad and mom making a decision about me, because let me give you a good example of that. Polio, 1949. I was born in 1948. 15 months old, got polio. Ended up wearing a brace. Blessed beyond measure with what mom and dad did and how they helped take care of me and things. So I lost all use of my right leg, part use of my left leg, almost was in an iron lung, ended up not being. Thank the Lord for that. But when I got to school age, the school officials wanted to put me in an institution.
Wow.
Away from everybody else, because there was no special ed in those days.
Wow.
Okay. No rights, Public Law 92, 194. None of that stuff existed. And so mom and dad became my advocates. And they said, no, he's going to go to regular school. He can do everything that he can do. Let him do. If you are playing in a baseball game, somebody will run for him. He can hit. Let somebody run. And you know what? Kids, they jumped at the chance to do that. Johnny said, I'll run for you, Larry. I'll run for you. So he sits over to the side. I get up to hit. I hit the ball. I get a hit. He runs to first base for me. So there are ways to work things out.
Yeah.
And I trust my mom and dad more than I do the government on that, because the government would have put me in an institution. Now, the good news is I ended up running that institution as county superintendent. So, and that's the unknown. That's the part that trust I think is really minimized with what's happened with COVID. I think it undermined trust in government at a far greater level than it had been before. There was already a lack of trust and things, but boy, it just plummeted that whole thing. But I would rather my mom and dad, I'd rather a parent come in and discuss with an official what the options are and things, rather than having someone say, you're going to an institution, Larry. So I end up running the institution. I mean, that's good news.
It is very good news.
Let me tell you. But I think we've got some tough decisions that are going to have to be made in the years ahead, and I think part of that is electing the right people to office. You know what? We're going to take a quick break here. I'm so glad you've tuned in to the Alan Autry Show with Guillermo Moreno and me, Larry Powell. We're just delighted to have you with us today. Stick with us. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. But the Alan Autry Show, KXEX, 1550 a.m., 12 o'clock, Monday through Friday. Talk to you soon.
No gym today, right? Okay.
Facebook fans, thank you so much for hanging in there with us. I know Alan really wants to be here. He hates to be gone.
He does.
Absolutely hates to be gone.
He really does.
Because he's a good talker, as you know, and he's a good thinker, and he likes to give you that shtick every once in a while about poor old boy from Louisiana. Let me tell you, Alan's one of the sharpest guys I know, and he's really well informed. And he helps keep you informed as well. So thank you for sticking with us as we're going through this. But he'll be back tomorrow, and then he'll be back on Friday. So it's going to be a good time. But good stuff still going on in America, even with the craziness.
Yeah, I don't even know about this. Everyone's watching this trial. What is this?
Oh, yeah, Murdaugh's wife. In the old days, news traveled, you really got fast news by Pony Express. I think streaming has hurt our ability to really, it's helped and hurt. It's hurt our ability to really understand the world, because we'll see something, it'll be reported and then discounted, reported in 1 minute, and 3 minutes later, it's discounted. So a mass shooting says there were 14 people killed. The next one says there's 16, then there's 19. And then they find out, no, they didn't actually die. And this, I mean, up to moment news has its good and its bad stuff, because it's not always, as easy as that. A little bit crazy.
Who's this guy? I have no idea who this guy is. I feel bad. Is he?
I'm not sure. We're watching both CNN and Fox News folks on our Facebook. We've got a couple of screens up here, so we try to stay up on what's taking place. And it looks like both of them are carrying it live.
Speaking of which, there was a Chiron, the lower third, on CNN. It said representatives. They saved themselves. Okay, fine. Representatives for Clinton, Obama, both Bushes say all classified docs return. And I was like, both Bushes? One's not here. How could he set?
Oh boy.
30 seconds.
All right.
All right.
They got themselves out of it.
Yep.
You got any classified documents, Larry, in your garage?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm the only classified person that in my household. They classified me as a former official. I no longer have to worry about all that stuff.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
Hey, thank you so much for being back. We're glad you've joined us again. The Alan Autry Show right here on KXEX 1550 AM. And he's on every Friday. In fact, he's on 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock. And Larry Powell, I'm pinch hitting for him today. And got Guillermo Moreno in here as well. We've been talking about the COVID decade. I hate to think about it that way, but I think we're going to be in it for a decade. And the British did a study, which is kind of the basis for the show today, trying to figure out, okay, what are the things we need to be aware of? What do we need to do? How do we respond in the future? And one of the things they talked about, I want to read a little bit here, is that it's gotten so crazy that we're going to have the effects of COVID in employment and financial world for the rest of this decade. The 2020s, but it is going to impact us because of one of the big changes is labor, and I want to talk a little bit about that. We could do the radio show from home, technologically. In fact, I think you take it with you when you go to events and things. But think about the labor market has changed considerably because people don't want to work at the office anymore.
Yeah. You look around town, you go down Shaw, every building has office space for available. Yeah. It has transformed the workplace, maybe for good, maybe for bad.
Yeah. Well, you do get to be home, but is that necessarily good? But you know what I think it's done too, that's kind of a side effect of this is I no longer have to learn how to get along with people. I can stay home. I can do my job. Now, there's some good to that, because I do get to be with family a little more and those kinds of things. But if I'm in a closet or in the cloak closet, which I had my radio show when I was doing it during COVID.
Next to your documents?
Yeah, exactly. I got my documents hidden. So, but you think about it, it has changed the workforce. And then when you take those 2 years of education that were lost, the degrees that were not attained, the workforce numbers are down, so you don't have enough people to hire, and all of those kinds of things. And then you have them working from home. You can't, as much as I trust people, and I'm a truster, I'm not a conspiracy guy or anything else, I don't know that I believe the work level is as good at home as it is when I'm at the job.
Yeah.
The tension of the boss walking by, it's the old cop deal. I may not be speeding, but I let my foot off the accelerator, even if I see a cop.
Yeah.
There's some of that takes place at the office. I'm more on guard, which is a good thing because stress is not necessarily a bad thing. It's distress. And when you folks, when you take a thought on this, DI stress, die stress. You die from stress is distress, but stress keeps your heart pumping. If I don't have enough stress, and pressure, my heart doesn't pump. So, I think there's something good about having a boss close by, and even for bouncing ideas off of a regular basis or being encouraged by them, those kinds of things. So the workplace is not the same anymore.
Yeah, I think, let me try to sum it up. I would say it was COVID in the employment sector was bad for the employer,
yes,
good for the employee. So the state of California put a lot of mandates on employers. I mean, they made the employer the front line. It's like, hey, your employee's sick, you still got to pay them. Don't worry, you get these FRCP, I forgot the acronym, you get those credits. Don't worry, you'll get PPP. Don't worry, you'll get this.
Yep.
But you need to enforce this. You need to make sure that anybody they talk to, anybody they came into contact with, they got to go home too. They got to quarantine.
Yeah.
It was really bad for employers because it changed the business structure. They put so much more responsibility on the employers. It was good for the employee because now the employees got more rights. The state of California backed it up saying, you guys,
Yep.
you have these rights against your employer and they got to give you time off.
So you don't have to go to work.
You don't have to go to work.
In fact, we're telling you don't go to work.
Don't go to work because you'll spread it. So it
Yeah.
was really bad for the employer. The only positives that I see from COVID from an employer standpoint was the PPP money. Without that, I mean, so many businesses would have gone under. And they're now doing ERC tax credit.
Yeah.
I think they're doing that because they realize that, man, the employer really came through. I mean, at the end of the day,
Oh, man.
at the end of the day,
Small-time employees.
Yes.
were the backbone. They still are.
Yeah, they
of
are.
America.
Yeah, small
Yeah.
businesses
Yeah.
really pulled through, and they really did a great job. The restaurant industry just got hammered. I mean, there's so many industries that got hammered. So
I lost so many good restaurants that were my favorites that went out of business.
when you're vegetarian, there's not many to begin with, and I mean, there's still not many. But
you
for
vegan guys.
yeah, yeah, exactly. One thing I personally liked from it is Zooming.
Okay.
I really liked it because, you know, when I get, I still do Zoom to this day, and I'm like, oh man, thank God I didn't have to drive all the way around town for that meeting. Like I would have been.
There are some meetings
And
that's
I'm just
good.
like, let's just
Yes.
do it. When they say, hey, let's just do Zoom now, I'm like, oh, let's do it. I did the drive time, the gas,
Yeah.
finding parking. I'm becoming old, like an old curmudgeon. Like I
love
don't know.
it. I love it.
Get off my lawn.
Well, you know, it's so interesting when you take the norm and flip it on its head. It creates such anxiety in people, and so our entire nation was anxious for 2 years. I think the anxiousness became some anger, and so we went from one A to another A.
Yeah.
And now it's a little bit of disbelief, and I don't believe you, you know. And so we've got a challenge with what's going on. And one of the things I'd mentioned before the break that I wanted to talk a little bit about is how do we pick the right people who are going to lead in the next crisis? Because we are so partisan right now. You know, how do we do that? What's your thought on that?
We don't have a choice. I hate to say it, we don't have a choice because I think we have individuals that I think in our lives where I'm like, man, you'd probably make, Alan Autry. I'm going to put him in the hot seat.
Okay.
I would love to see Alan Autry back in the mayorship. I mean, I would love to see him back at City Hall. You know, Guillermo, he's old. Well, there's an old guy that's at the very, very top. I don't think we have a choice.
He's young compared to Trump and Biden.
Yeah, he is. We're going to tell him.
Yes.
I don't think we have a choice. And that's unfortunate because politics has now breeded a different type of individual. I wish I could sit here and tell you, man, you know, every seat that goes up for grabs, we got some quality people. I mean, people that really have the experience, people that you just don't have that anymore. So how do you choose the right people? The right people probably aren't the ones running. If we're going to get down to, you know, the brass tacks, the right person for the job probably isn't running.
We're
the
in
majority
media,
of the time.
and yet media has created that issue.
But we have. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
In my evolution in my media career, I'll never forget. You know, when I went daily, I had this one caller named Bill. And he listened to me every day. And at one point, I think I might have been about a year listening. He goes, Guillermo, he goes, man, you just tell us when we got to get call to arms. You be right, and I'll be right there with you. And I'm like, whoa, no, listen, no. I don't think I ever said, hey, let's go storm. And this was before the
Capitol.
This was before the actual storming of the Capitol.
Yeah.
I take zero responsibility for that. I take zero responsibility for any of it because talk radio and media. Listen, it's infotainment. Okay. You're supposed to be. There's a reason why most of the people are good looking on television. I say most of the people because it's entertainment. It's
no doubt.
That's what it is. What did Rush Limbaugh call it? The info babes. You know,
yes.
It's entertainment. The media has a lot to blame for. Not us. Not we do a good job here.
Yeah.
I forgot what the question was, Lenny. I forgot what you had asked.
Well, you know, we're just trying to decide how do we get good people in office.
Oh yeah,
you know,
good luck when you figure it out. I think if you look at everybody that's in office now, this generation, and I mean, you go back to our founding fathers. You know, our founding fathers, none of them wanted to be in charge. I mean, they saw an issue. They wanted to create a government that would last long. None of them. I mean, granted, a couple of them probably wanted to become the king, and then they realized like, hey, that ain't gonna happen here. You know, but the level of politician, I mean, they work jobs. They went in for like 2 months.
Yeah. That's something we need to think about. You know, why do we have full-time legislators and everything else?
Exactly.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. So,
and our founding fathers, you know, a lot of them were future-oriented rather than the current right now.
Yeah.
And
so
boy,
true.
I'm so glad they were because they gave us a chance to have a country where we had freedom but they were thinking about all the crazy things that had happened to them. How do we protect against that for the future? And I love that future thinking. But one of the things I wanted to highlight, and I've done this a lot, I just think it's so critical. hire great school board members.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you think about it, everybody in America was affected by schools being shut down. Even if you didn't have kids in school, you had them running around, you had them out. You've got employment issues for the future where you don't have a supply of employees. It affected everybody. And we have to have really good school board members. And that means vet them really well, get your best people to run. And I think there needs to be a really concerted effort to not only get someone who can get elected, but get someone who's worthy of being elected running.
Yeah.
Because we've had some relatively good races here recently and some good people running.
Absolutely.
And stuff. So that's been really good.
That's a good point. Yeah, we
really
have.
good. But I think we need to concentrate on people say everything is local when it comes to politics.
Oh, yeah.
You know, potholes a good example.
Yeah.
Did you see the cartoon the other day? It showed a guy with a putter and a ball out on the highway, on the street, and he's putting from one hole to another, because there were so many holes on the road, and this rain that we've had, thank the Lord for the rain, but
amen.
The rain has created potholes all over California. I mean,
Isn't it crazy how that happens? It's like a little water is going to break up the street.
Oh, man, there are potholes, and with my Tesla, I am real careful. I do not want to hit one of those.
Yeah, you're done.
We're in trouble.
You are done.
It's a bad deal. Bad deal.
In Michigan, I go back and forth every year, and right when the snow melts, that place is bad.
Yeah.
But they fix it right away.
They do. They're used to it.
Yeah, they're used to it.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle. I've thought to myself, I'll have to go get some sand at Home Depot and just fill it in for the time being until the city of Fresno decides to get around to it. But
hey, you mentioned Michigan. I thought I'd bring up TCU.
Who?
Texas Christian. No, I'm not going to do that, folks. That was one of the playoffs for the national championship. What do you think about your coach? Let's get off on something a little more light for the last few minutes. What do you think about your coach staying?
That's a different Michigan. So I'm a Spartan.
You're
I'm
a Spartan. You're
on
the other side.
I'm on the other side. But,
that's right. Michigan. Do you know that the second largest group of Michiganders? I don't know. What do you call you?
Yeah,
guys? Michiganders is in California.
No way.
Number-wise.
I believe it.
Yeah. So Michigan and then California. For the number of folks from Michigan. So this is a big Michigan state.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Joe Harbaugh, I really grew to like him. Jim after his stance on abortion was evident, and he said, that was pretty amazing. And I said, you know what, I'll let football be, football. I guess I'll support you guys.
So your interstate rivalry will.
Yeah. Until next football season, and then after that, he's dead to me.
I know. What do you think about Fresno State? Can we follow up what we just did?
No, it's so tough. It is. I doubt it.
It's going to be hard.
We're not a football town. That's the problem. We got it. We could build it.
We like it when they're winning and at the end, but we don't do a whole lot to support to get there.
Yeah, this isn't a college town, Larry. This isn't East Lansing. This isn't Ann Arbor. This isn't that. This isn't. Where are the Buckeyes at? Do you know the Buckeye was a nut? I just figured that John Somerville the other day. I was like, "What's a Buckeye? Is that some man?" He was like, "No,
it's a nut."
Yeah, like what?
Well, there's something to be said for that nut. They've been doing pretty well. Well, listen, folks, we're so glad that you joined us today. Hopefully, you got a little information from us on the COVID decade. We're hoping that good Lord do everything that He can that make sure we don't go through that again. But we're going to be prepared one way or the other. Thank you so much for being here with the Alan Autry Show. Catch us again tomorrow. Blessings to you.